When I was 5 years old, I nearly died. I had a tent fall on me. We lived in Delhi in this colony that had a ground next to it, and there was a government school on that ground. Now, that school didn't have a proper building, so every classroom was really one giant tent. And as children, we used to play under those tents after hours. Now, this one year, I think it was probably the monsoon because a storm was building up. And a friend of mine and I, we were playing under the tents when suddenly it started to rain. So my friend ran in the direction of her house, and I ran in the opposite direction to mine. And as I was passing under this tent, this giant thing came crashing down on me. I was yay high, and the tent could seat about 60, 100 kids. I was crushed under it. I couldn't see anything. It was dark. I couldn't breathe. I was suffocating. I thought, this is it. I'm going to die. I should have panicked. I should have shut down. I should have passed out, but something crazy happened. My senses became heightened. Sense of self-preservation, I don't know. I was in power mode. I started to look around for a ray of light, and I found one. It was an opening barely this big, and I squirmed my way towards it. I managed to crawl out from under the tent, run home, bloodied, muddied, clothes torn, but I made it home safe. And now somehow, that became a theme in my life. The time I gave my best was when I was faced with an obstacle. It was almost as if being locked down was a catalyst to unlocking new doors. And this theme of embracing obstacles, it held me in great stead when I grew up and chose the creative profession as my field. Now, in the creative world, people always say, think outside the box. But the key, really, is learning to think within a box of constraints. It's working with a lack of options that really unleashes our creativity. And so, whenever in a project, more the obstacles, the more creative I had to be, and better the final film script or the project. In February of 2020, we were working on this documentary. So we researched our characters, we had the storyline all figured out, we had our budget all sorted, we were ready to go into production. March 2020. A virus was beginning to spread. Okay, this production was going to be a bit risky. So we would put our, we thought we'll put our crew in PPE kits, we'll sanitize our equipment, we'll take all the precautions, and we were ready to go into production. End March 2020. We get a mandate to stop all in-field filming. I mean, now this was downright crazy. How are we going to make a film without filming? Without following our characters, without conducting interviews with them? That's, the cornerstone of any documentary. So we came up with a plan. We decided to turn our characters into directors. And we asked their friends and family to talk to them at the end of the day. No high-tech equipment, no high-end cameras, just document your day, shoot yourself on the phone as you go along. Now, incidentally, this film was on the coronavirus lockdown. And all our characters were these, cops and doctors and all the frontline workers. And the footage that we got through this method was absolute gold. I mean, the strong emotional moments, the powerful moments, we would have never got it with a crew trailing them. And then a bunch of directors and editors worked with this footage from inside their homes and put it together into a film. The entire film was created, edited, and aired all within the lockdown period without a single member of the crew stepping out of their homes. And the film went on to win the Best Infotainment Award in Asia. So, it took a lockdown to unlock the doors of our creativity. Now, is creativity or being creative only the domain of arts and artists? I mean, what happened all through 2020 when we were locked down in our homes? I mean, teachers found innovative ways to teach. Partygoers were partying on the house party app. And grandkids came up with creative ways to hug their grandparents across a plastic sheet. Creativity belongs to everyone. We need our engineers to be creative, so we have cars that run on water. We need our architects to be creative, so we have sustainable architecture. We need our scientists to be creative. A couple of years ago, India sent a mission to the moon. It was called Chandrayaan-2. It took Chandrayaan-2 48 days to reach the moon. Now, 50 years ago, Apollo 11 reached the moon in 4 days. You see, the Americans had a lot of money, and they had a very powerful launch vehicle, so they could just throw their craft straight at the moon. But the Indian scientists did not have all these resources at their disposal. So, they needed a plan. Have you ever tried throwing a ball at a target, much like pitching in baseball? You need a lot of power. But what if you took the ball, you tied it to a string, and you swung it around a few times? And then when you release it, the centrifugal force it generates propels it to a much larger distance. So that's what the scientists in India did. They took the craft, they swung it around the earth, and then they hurled it at the moon. Apollo 11 took 4 days. Chandrayaan-2 took 48 days. Apollo 11, in today's value, cost $1.2 billion. Chandrayaan-2 cost 138 million, 1/10. And now I don't have the exact statistic, but I'm sure we use much less fuel too. And today, the Indian scientists are on the verge of cost-effective, sustainable space exploration. Innovation happens when there are obstacles. Now, there are 3 tools that I found particularly useful when it comes to dealing with obstacles in life. Rule number 1, hone your craft. You see, one of my earliest jobs was as a writer for a music television. And I would, write these scripts, which then the VJs would read off a teleprompter. Every 1-hour show had 3 breaks in it, which means thrice in every show, we had to say, come back after the break, or welcome back after the break. Now, we couldn't just merely say, hey, come back after the break. Everybody wanted really creative ways to script this, so that the viewers really come back after the break. Thrice in every show. At one point in time, I was writing 30 shows a week, which means every week I had to come up with 90 creative ways of just saying, come back after this break. And I did that job for 2 years. So hone your craft till it is muscle memory. I'll share one more story here. A couple of months ago, this friend of mine called me. Now, he's been a writer for television, and he's been writing for close to 2 decades. But he called me, and he was, really stressed out. He was like, Shruti, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm really good at this. I don't know if I'm really talented. Should I be evaluating other career options? I don't know where I'm going with the whole writing thing. I mean, can you imagine 2 whole decades of writing, and he's doubting his talent? Okay, now this friend and his wife are planning to have a baby, and I'm not saying, having a baby is an obstacle, but sometimes when you're faced with big life decisions, you doubt yourself. Or if you've been, working hard really long at something and not so-called hit it big, you get anxious. I told my friend to take it easy, like all creative geniuses doubt themselves at some point in time. Even Steven Spielberg doubts himself. Okay, maybe not Steven, but anyway, here's what I said to my friend. A fool thinks himself to be wise, but a wise man knows himself to be a fool. Yeah, actually that's what Shakespeare said, but you get my point. The more a wise man knows, the more a wise man knows how little he knows. So we decided that my friend is going to go back and read 1 screenplay every day, something he did pretty much at the beginning of his career. And now you all know the story of that little girl, right? Who as a 16-year-old went to see Romeo and Juliet. And then she felt so bad for Romeo and Juliet at the end of the play. And then she grew up, became a mother of a 16-year-old herself, and then went to see the play again. And this time, she felt so bad for Romeo and Juliet's mother. So sure enough, every time my friend read a screenplay, even the ones he had read years ago, he came back with a new insight. My friend is now writing the new Netflix show, so I think I give good advice. Okay, rule number 2. But before that, another story. Yeah, I'm not a storyteller for nothing. Right. So this one time, we were shooting in Rishikesh. And we were shooting with a bunch of celebrities, and they had this, cross-country race to run. It was a race through the jungles of Rishikesh. It was a lot of fun. But this particular day, we were really, really behind schedule. It rained that day. Yeah, I know all my stories have rain in it, but makes it more dramatic. But no, seriously, this day, it really did rain. And we had a lot of stuff yet to be shot, the elimination, the final winner announcement. So, and we were in an outdoor location without any lights. So now the DOP is freaking out, saying, we're in an outdoor location. How can you guys not have lights? The director is freaking out, saying, I want lights here. The production guys, BP, shooting up because the lights have to come from Dehradun. And now it's really getting dark. And, the celebrities have to go back. They can't stay back another day. And we probably couldn't afford it anyway. So it was a big mess. And suddenly, this driver, who's come with a fleet of cars to pick us up, he walks up to us and says, lights chahiye. He said, do you need lights? I have lights in my car. And we were like, wait a minute, you have a lighting kit in your car? And he said, no, I have headlights in my car. That's how I drove in the dark to pick you guys up. Now, as a production crew, we were so blinkered to only think of lights in terms of a lighting kit that this simple, innovative solution, failed us. So, rule number 2, diverse collaborations. Work with people who are different from you, who have different ideas, different mindset, different culture, different beliefs, different educational backgrounds, and learn to work together. I mean, not only will it make us more tolerant and better human beings, but it'll give you a whole new perspective to the problem at hand. I'll let you in on a trade secret. I was part of the team that launched Big Boss in India. And you know what the casting Bible said? Never put two similar people together. Pack in the opposites. Put a non-vegetarian with a vegetarian. Put someone who's messy with someone who has OCD. Put someone who's very conservative with someone who's very liberal. And then watch the content flow. Oldest trick to casting for a reality show. Never cast similar people. Cast a very diverse set of people and then watch the sparks fly. And most reality shows, aren't they these fish out of water situation? Have you noticed? Put celebrities in a jungle, put a bunch of hot-headed guys on a road trip, put rich kids in a frugal situation. That's what we do as reality producers. Now, I'm not asking you to create conflict. All I'm saying is that sparks of creativity really fly when a diverse set of ideas work together. Rule number 3, care about the cause. You got to have passion. You know, what's the best part about being in entertainment? You get to bring a smile to people's faces. Isn't that the best job satisfaction one can get? And I worked on a lot of productions, big, small, multi-million dollars, few lakhs, few thousands. But of all the accolades, all the awards, all the kudos we've got, my favorite is a letter written to me by a father asking us for a copy of the film we made on Kalpana Chawla, the astronaut, for his 7-year-old daughter, because she was a huge, huge fan of hers. So every time I want to tell a story, I think of how is it going to impact someone's life? How is it going to change someone's day? How is it going to expand someone's worldview? And for me, that's the biggest driving force to overcoming any obstacle. Life will give you obstacles, but every obstacle is but an opportunity to be more creative. 8 years ago, I had to move to Delhi from Mumbai and almost restart my life and career from scratch as a single parent. So I fell back on my trusted tools. I honed my craft. I learned how to tell completely different stories from the ones I'd been telling before. I collaborated with friends and family, with bosses and colleagues, and I had a cause that I really cared about to financially, physically, and spiritually take care of my daughter. But after living and working for a decade in Mumbai, the heart of entertainment hub, what was I going to do in Delhi? How was I going to manage here? What a beautiful theme we have today. Kinsugi. How creative was the guy who didn't throw away his broken piece of pottery? Instead, he overcame this obstacle. He put together the broken pieces and he covered the cracks with gold, and in the process created something even more beautiful than before. The little girl managed to find her way out of the tent again. And today, I have the privilege of serving as a creative director and vice president of content with a globally renowned network right here in Delhi. Our lives, our journeys are richer because of the obstacles we face. We are more creative because of our constraints. And new doors are only unlocked when we are locked down. Thank you so much for listening to me.